Hello and welcome to Up for Debate podcast, episode 1, where we discuss anything and everything's literally up for debate.
Yeah.
On today's agenda, we've got, we'll see how many we can get through. If you've got enough time to get through them all, we'll go through them all. But we've got Kanye
Quite
West.
a lot going on at the moment, isn't it?
There's a lot going on in the
Yeah.
world, so there's a lot of like trending news.
Yeah.
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 And it keeps changing every day as well. So we got Kanye West. He's been in the press, in the news recently for some of the stuff he's done and said. So we'll go through that to start off with, following up with probably some of that hits a bit closer to home for us, for both of us, the Iran protests. There's a lot on it, but I don't think it's enough.
Yeah. We'll just see what we can sort of get through
Yeah.
today, but probably
We'll
it's gonna be topic of conversation in the next episodes as well, probably.
I think until the problem gets sorted,
Yeah.
Iran's going to be the topic of conversation going forward.
Yeah.
Housing marketing strategies we'll touch upon.
Yeah, that one obviously because I came across a question from someone this past week, which obviously made me put that into the agenda, and it's something that's going to get people thinking a little bit about what the best strategy is now, because quite a lot of people are confused. Oh yeah, wait, buy this, that, the other. So we'll go through all of that.
Yeah, and then we'll touch up on the World Cup as well, on the football. I know we both follow the football.
It'd be rude not to, isn't it? With the final.
And then we'll look at the soup throwers, the climate agenda.
Yeah.
I like to call them soup throwers, but it's a lot more serious than that anyway.
Yeah.
But starting off with Kanye West then.
Yeah.
So you actually brought this news to me. I've seen a little bit about it. So you started off. Where did this all come from? Why is Kanye West trending?
So basically, I don't know whether you were aware, he basically went and tweeted that I'm gonna go DEFCON 3 on the Jews, which obviously brought up a lot of reaction from everyone, and especially obviously the Jewish community.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're generalizing all the Jews, and then obviously he tried to sort of clear it up by saying, what I mean is, wherever you go into business, like at the top, it's owned by someone that's Jewish or part of this cult or whatever. Which, and then he showed evidence of, Hollywood, this, that, the other, and who owns what. So that was how it started. But then he sort of carried on. He hasn't come out and said, yeah, I'm sorry for what I've said or whatever. He's just doubled down and said, no, I'm right. This is what's happening, and I want everyone to know, whatever. So that's what he's done at the start, and then since then he's gone on different podcasts and different shows, and just basically carried that on and extended even more. So only recently he's been talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce and Shaquille O'Neal and all, celebrities, and saying they basically sold their soul to the devil, and they've had like sacrifices and stuff to get to where they are, and then going on about even the businesses that they think they own, it's still 51% owned by a Jewish guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And they basically, I don't know, slaves or whatever. This is what he's sort of been going on about.
I mean, the money that Jay-Z and Beyonce and Shaquille O'Neal make from their businesses, I mean, I'd be slave to a business if that made...
Funny enough, so Shaquille O'Neal's come back and said, he's just come back and said, I wouldn't take advice of someone who's not wealthier than me. But obviously, Kanye was wealthier, but now he isn't, because obviously...
So what's happened? So what's happened to his wealth? Because Kanye West was, for me, he was obviously very successful, a lot of money behind him.
Yeah.
But why isn't he as wealthy anymore?
Well,
what happened there?
Balenciaga and Adidas dropped him, didn't he? So I think that took about 1.2 billion or something off his net worth in one night, or in like 10-15 minutes or something.
Why? So Balenciaga dropped him after the whole Balenciaga scandal.
No. That was after. So they dropped him because of the comment that he made on Twitter.
Yeah.
About Jews. And that whole scandal was after, with the kids and, where the bondage.
Yeah.
Whatever,
I mean,
yeah.
that for me is a bit... The whole Balenciaga scandal for me was a bit crazy.
Yeah, and then to go and claim that we didn't know. You do one little video for ads.
Yeah.
We have to approve it, for our own little company. And then they're telling me that, Balenciaga don't have anyone overseeing the ads, and someone just decides this is what we're doing, and then just go on air with it.
Yeah, I've seen something, I was saying this to you before, I've seen something crazy as well about Balenciaga, and it was like, apparently, like, this whole, like, it's a bit weird that he's been dropped. Kanye West has been dropped after he's mentioned the whole Jewish thing. And so after this the whole, like, children bondage thing with Balenciaga, which, by the way, I'm just going to say this now, I don't agree with it, or I think it's disgusting.
No one really can say.
So someone went and looked at the word Balenciaga, and, like, if you break it up into Baal, which is in the Hebrew Bible, the god of fertility, so the god that produces life for essentially babies and kids, and then the rest of the word makes up is king, or is God. That's what Balenciaga apparently spells or means in Hebrew or whatever, and he approved of like children sacrifices, or like baby sacrifices anyway. So it's a bit mad that this has all come out now, and if you take it a little bit out of context and say Balenciaga or Baal, that's
mad. That's someone's surname, isn't it? That's the main guy's surname, really, unless he's been changed years ago, or whatever, to fit in with the narrative.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kanye West is onto something.
He could well be. The problem you've got is, first of all, obviously the whole world's gone, politically. You can't describe people anymore. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying, obviously, he's wrong in generalizing and calling Jews, because that means every Jew in the world, and that's wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
But what I'm saying is, years and years ago, before all this, PC thing come out, that's just how people described, people.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the Iranian guy or the Italian guy or this.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you describe people. It's not that, doesn't mean that you're, anti-Jewish or whatever. That's just how people but he should know better, because, he's a celebrity.
Yeah.
And first of all, you don't just go to Twitter. If you're that big, with that kind of influence, you should not be allowed to just be, writing whatever. You should have, like, a team to discuss anything you want to do with.
It's Kanye West, though, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. That's his whole problem. And I think the problem we've got is, as well, obviously, these people that are this successful, obviously they've got big egos, and more often than not, where they make the mistake is they get rid of people around them that, can challenge them.
Yeah.
So they just they go and hire all the yes men.
Yeah.
Because obviously that boosts their ego even more. But really what you need is someone with an opposing idea.
Yeah.
So
if you challenge you and say, maybe you shouldn't put this out.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But if everyone's scared of you, to tell you, you're doing something wrong, then you're basically just getting people to just echo what you feel at any one point. So that's the whole problem.
I still won't see the problem with a Jewish guy owning a business anyway.
Well, I don't see that either. It's just,
if he's been if he's got himself to the point where
what he's saying is, you cannot be at the top unless you're basically, you can't be at the top Yeah, so
unless you're Jewish.
because obviously, yeah, they.
The
but
Jewish don't let you.
To be fair, they've obviously created Hollywood, and it's not their fault that everyone's, on the TV and movies and whatnot. So they've created this business. Everyone's obviously, bought into it.
Yeah.
Apparently, someone was saying television is basically television, so they can put whatever vision they want in your mind using that device. So that's where it's come from.
That's interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
Television.
Yeah.
That's
so, that's... I just think, obviously, he's been wrong doing what he's done, and he might have a point in some cases, but I just feel, he could have handled it a little bit better. And when it's all come out, you can just say, okay, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he has said that, but you just don't go and generalize,
Yeah.
Because no one knows what you're thinking. Obviously, in his mind, he knows which Jews he's referring to.
Yeah.
But people on Twitter don't know, do they?
Yeah.
So
he's been banned a couple of times as well, hasn't he, Kanye West?
Well, apparently, I think Elon Musk got in touch with him and just told him just cool off, don't. But he's carried on, so I think he's banned again, isn't he? So because of hate speech, even Elon Musk can't.
Elon Musk of all people.
Yeah.
Moving on then.
Yeah.
Looking at a bit of a more serious topic now. Not saying that Kanye West dissing Jews is not serious, but there's a big problem happening in Iran right now, isn't there? If you've been living under a rock essentially and you don't know anything about Iran, a girl was killed by the Iranian government.
They claimed she had a heart attack at 22 years old.
Yeah. Which is possible, but
very unlikely.
Very unlikely. So this girl is killed by the Iranian government for exposing a bit of her hair, essentially, not following the hijab laws in Iran, and she was essentially killed for that. And then there was an uproar.
Yeah.
There have been protests initially in Iran, and now it's widespread across the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know there's definitely protests happening in Liverpool, Manchester, London, every day, every week. I think as we currently speak, they're out doing a convoy around Liverpool again in the cars.
Yeah.
But looking at the situation in Iran, it's just terrible, isn't it?
I just think that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, to be honest, because over the last sort of 40 odd years, the way they came into power altogether was wrong, because people wanted some sort of democracy back then, thinking everything's going to get better, and then when these took over, they just done a referendum and said, do you want Islamic Republic of Iran, yes or no? So it wasn't like a choice of, do you want X, Y, or Z? It was just this or go back to the old regime, and everyone voted yes.
Yeah.
Which was stupid.
So just to go back a few years, just to explain what actually happened in Iran. We had a monarchy, so we had a king.
Yeah.
And then a regime came in.
Yeah, so before obviously these took over, Iran was part of, I think, the top 5 countries in the world in economics, in, military, in all sorts, basically. But as you always said, people are always looking for improvements.
Yeah.
And they were thinking, obviously, so we got one guy making all the decisions.
Yeah.
And we want democracy, we want to be... But, looking at it now, the government that have the democracy, I just think it's an illusion. You don't really, it just makes people think they've got a choice.
Yeah.
But whatever needs to happen, happens, with all parties,
look at England.
Lobbying. Yeah, so people who control the money in any country, they control the government.
Yeah.
So it's not really a democracy, but that's what people wanted back then.
Yeah.
And obviously these came about and said, oh yeah, we're going to pay you the oil and gas money. You never have to pay for this, never have to pay for that. He's robbing you, this, that, the other. So got rid of him. And then when they came to power, they were saying, "Oh yeah, there's nothing." So you didn't have to wear hijab until
Yeah.
a few years after,
Yeah.
and then little by little, they
It became
showed
a dictatorship.
exactly, yeah. And the funny thing is, the first thing they did when they took over, they killed all the people around them that helped them come into power.
Yeah.
And that's how they cemented their place. And obviously, over the years, obviously, economic situation in Iran is, overnight, people's net worth just halved.
Yeah.
So, dollar went, I don't know, from 5,000 to 10,000 overnight.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, as well as all the Islamic regulations where you got Jewish people, you got Christian people, and you got people that might be Muslim, but they're not religious in Iran. And that whole thing, I think, contributes to about at least 70 or 80% of Iran.
Yeah.
So you're trying to force your way on majority of people.
Yeah.
So that's why obviously when that happened, that just, that was the trigger point, and everyone just came out. It wasn't just because of the hijab. It was everything combined, and just
because over the years there's been numerous protests in Iran where it got ugly as well. But this has been by far the biggest protest.
To be fair, no, they were doing stuff like this in the past as well, but this new generation, Generation Z, they just don't care, do they?
They're sick of it.
Yeah, they just fearless, all coming to, it's, I think the uproar has been bigger than the other times, but they've been just as bad in them times as well. They've executed people in the past. They've done it in three different occasions where they've done like mass executions.
Yeah.
And usually when they do that, people sort of get scared and go home. But this time it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And it's by far the longest. So usually it's like 2-3 weeks, and then they start killing some people, and then
it just fizzles out. Yeah.
But this time, obviously, it looks like it's going to happen. So
the current situation in Iran is people are protesting against the government, against the regime. They want them out. They want them gone.
Yeah.
Initially, there was nothing from the West, was there? No news, no reports, no coverage. There'd be small mentions of it. Definitely nothing. Not UN didn't get involved, did it? The human rights didn't get involved.
I just think even now, after 3-4 months, what they're doing is the bare minimum. Yeah, only because they can't just not do anything and pretend nothing's happening.
Yeah,
but I just think, I don't know. It's all about money, really. At the end of the day,
it's all about money, and I think there's a lot of people and relationships behind the scene between Iran and the West.
Yeah,
where they can't really.
So give you an example, because we're in the World Cup period. So in Qatar, first game, obviously the Iran team, they never sang the anthem.
Yeah.
And then obviously they got told, if you don't do it, we're going to kill your family. So the second and third game, they sang the anthem reluctantly. But the other thing is, the first game, so there were people in the stadium booing the anthem.
Yeah.
And, they've gone in with the Iranian flag, not the Islamic Republic flag. Yeah. And it was shown, and then Qatar, all of a sudden, got rid of all of them. Anyone who booed the anthem weren't allowed in the stadium. And they were just literally showing, so there was a lot of people doing like protests inside the stadium. Wasn't showing any of it. It was just showing people that were going in from the Islamic Republic. All, they try and make it as if these are just normal people, with no hijab, blonde hair, this, that, the other, but with the Islamic Republic flag.
Yeah. And it didn't make sense, did it?
And funny enough, I was watching the game on ITV against Wales, I think. And
what a game, by the way.
Yeah. And so basically the Iranian government bought all the tickets underneath the ITV and BBC pods.
Yeah.
So they were saying, oh yeah, the Iranians, we're so happy. and they were all having like Iranian, well,
Islamic flag,
yeah. So that the Western media thinks
Fooled,
people
yeah.
are, generally like, so
Because
they go to big lengths to show that.
I mean, there were rumours that they bought tickets in the stadium and they gave it to like
Yeah.
they brought in loads of like people from like Bangladesh
Yeah,
and like
they
stuff
couldn't
like
even
that.
speak Farsi, did they?
Yeah,
It's like,
but what's happening in Iran now then? So if we actually describe it a little bit, so there's these protests going on, but they're not just protests, are they? Because the government are retaliating. So there are essentially public executions happening all the time. Well, not literally public, but they're publicly announcing that they're
no,
killing.
they don't do it public, because if they do it public, they'll be in trouble. If 1 million people turn up there and you kill one of their own,
Yeah.
they used to do it public
but
back
they're
in the days.
publicly announcing it.
Yeah.
So they're essentially. So there's been 2, 3, I think 4 lads now that have been arrested and executed. And by the way, when we say executed, they hang people in Iran, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is horrendous. Like even the thought of it is horrendous.
Yeah.
And they're essentially hanging people that are protesting, but they're painting the picture as they're doing illegal stuff, such as like beating the police or.
So they basically given them this verdict as if they've killed
A
person.
A government person, yeah.
But they haven't.
They haven't. They're just protesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have hurt the enforcement police out because they're. I mean, if you see videos of what's happening in Iran, like they're not.
In their own laws, it says even if you kill someone, if it's in self-defense, this is not the verdict for you. This is just literally you going into a government organization and start shooting people up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the revolution, back in 79, that one, obviously how it happened was all these governments obviously helped bring it in, because it can't, people with nothing in their hands, you can't really do nothing, can you?
Yeah.
Just, you need help from, the more powerful governments in the world to get something done, and the help just hasn't been there, I don't think.
Yeah, and the numbers, the statistics about the Iran protests are quite crazy. It's over 20,000 imprisoned, just for protesting. This is not even doing anything. Imprisoned, many killed. I think.
Yeah.
The figures for people killed, I haven't looked it up, but last time I checked, that wasn't far off the thousands, and you're talking kids and women involved in that as well. So it's just, if you're not clued up on the Iran protests, just go and do a bit of research. Essentially, just go and look it up, see what's happening, and make your own mind up about what's happening.
Yeah.
So moving on, obviously something that's more your expertise. Coming to the end of 2022, going into 2023, let's look at the housing market.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah, so basically I was speaking to one of my mates' sisters, and the reason obviously why I wanted to bring up this housing situation now is her questions, I assume, is a lot of other people's questions as well.
Yeah.
So we go through it, get some pointers that might help a few people, in making a decision on what they do. Obviously, the rate's gone up again yesterday, 0.5 basis point, which means another 1.25% on top of, mortgage rates.
Yeah.
Or maybe even more.
So, what was her question?
So she's looking to buy a house.
Yeah.
She was asking whether to buy now or wait. And then she was saying, I want to buy a house where I do this work and that work to it and stuff like that. So I'll tell you what I've said to her. Obviously, with regards to buying a house to do up, I wouldn't recommend that.
Right now.
For someone who wants to buy a house to live in, I wouldn't recommend it because, first of all, if you can get a mortgage, the only time I would recommend it is if your affordability on your mortgage doesn't get you a house that you want. But then what you got to take into account is if, say, for example, you buy a house which is, say, I don't know, £200,000 for the sake of argument, and you think, yeah, I can do X and Y to it myself, and it's going to cost me 235. What you got to take into account is typically if you're paying 10% on your mortgage, that's 20,000, but then you spending 30,000 doing the house, of which means you put 50 grand of your own money into the house. Whereas if you buy a house that's already done up for 235,000, you're only putting in 23,000, and the rest is mortgage. So it's actually better to go and buy a house that's closer to what you want.
Yeah.
Because people think, oh, yeah, I'm adding value to the house.
Yeah.
You are, but you got to look at the equity that you're putting in as well.
Yeah.
That you could use in, you could use that equity, invest in somewhere else.
Yeah.
Get a return on it rather than put in your house. So that's one thing that we discussed. Second thing, obviously, should I buy now, next year? What should we do? To be honest, what I would say is at the moment it's buyer's market anyway. So if you find the house that you like and you can afford, obviously with the rate, then you can go and put an offer forward now. People are scared of rates being high, but it's not going to stay like that, is it? Next 2 years, it's going to go back down again. But what you can do, say for example on your mortgage, if you're paying 5 grand a year more for the next 2 years, that's 10,000. But if you're buying a house for 400,000, you can go and offer them, even if you get 10% below asking price, that's 40,000. So whereas before, last couple of years, you couldn't buy a house. Because whatever property you go for, there's 20 other people, everything going for over asking price. Whereas now is the buyer's market, there's not that many people offering.
Yeah.
So because they think, oh, they have to wait till prices go down. But you can actually buy stuff at a decent price now if someone, wants to sell. What I would say, obviously, with the prices going down, they are going to go down, but you just got to manage your expectations on what property you're going for. Some of the areas where people don't really need to sell, they're not going to drop massively.
Yeah.
The main properties that are going to get hit are properties that were bought for an investment.
Yeah.
Those properties are obviously going to get hit because if you bought a property for investment purposes, you're getting, say, 6-7% return on rentals, and all of a sudden your mortgage rate has gone from 2% to 7%, and you're not making any money. So that property comes to market, and then when there's a few of them, they have to drop the price, and that's how crashes start.
Yeah.
That essentially obviously trickles down to all properties.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is people got to sort of manage their expectations and know that, the more desirable a house or an area is, the less it's going to drop, obviously, because it's still desirable.
Yeah,
like
the demand's always going to be there for that.
If you're going to buy a beachfront property in Malibu, you're not going to get much drop in that, But obviously, if you're buying a rental house in, I don't know, L6, L7 or whatever, then there's going to be a drop because a lot of the people that were buying before were buying with mortgages. 90% are buying with mortgages, and if it doesn't make sense, why would they want to put their money in and pay something out of their pocket per month to pay the mortgages? So those are the things that we sort of discussed, and I thought the audience could get a bit of value from that, and maybe help them.
Because I'm in a similar situation right now. I'm in a position where it's like, do I buy now or do I wait? The property price is going to go down. Are they going to go up? But I will say one thing I have noticed. So you are right. In like a year or two ago, over the past couple of years, houses won't even make it to the market before they're sold.
Yeah.
It's like I drive around the areas that we're looking to buy, and it's like the sign, the for sale sign essentially goes up with sold already on it.
Yeah.
It's like I've never seen it like that, and I never even saw a house up for sale.
Yeah.
It was always sold. But now I'm driving around in the same areas, and all I'm seeing is for sale here, for sale there, and I'm like,
yeah.
Is now the time to buy?
Well, it just depends on individual circumstances, really. But what I would say is, when people are not buying, is the time for you to buy. And the good thing you've got as well. So, like I said before, you put a property for sale, you get 60 people who want to view it same day. This, that, the other. Property goes over asking now. You probably got 2-3 people inquiring. So you're in a better position. And also, what you can say is, I would have paid, obviously, asking price, but with the mortgage rates, this is how much I can afford.
Yeah.
And if someone's really wanting to sell the property, they'll probably let it go. Unless they want to keep it for 2 years, they'll let it go.
And before we move on, because I know, speaking about mortgages, obviously none of us are mortgage advisors, and we can't really say much, but you probably know more about this than I do. So there are, in terms of interest rates and rates for mortgages, there are two ways, a fix and a tracker, isn't there?
Yeah.
Say we go to get a property, we go to buy a house now with the rates at what they are now. Do you take the gamble of going with a tracker?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Because...
No point. So
are you saying it will go down? Or...
Yeah, well...
Will it go up before it goes down?
It'll go up, but you're talking 6 payments. If you're looking to buy a house now, by the time it completes, that's 3 months.
Yeah.
So you're talking Q1 of next year. There's probably going to be another rise, Q2, and then start going back down. But if you lock yourself into a 2 or 5 year high rate, then you've lost, haven't you?
So if you're going for a mortgage, go for the tracker.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, and tracker's lower as well anyway.
Because it goes with the lower point of the rate.
Yeah.
So it goes with the base.
Yeah, base rate plus,
So if you're looking to get a house, if you can afford it for the house you want to live in, go for it now.
Well, it depends. It just depends on obviously people's affordability's gone down massively. Yeah. Because of the rates and because of
the cost of living crisis.
Cost of living and stuff. Yeah. So. Yeah, it is a good time to buy. If there's something out there that you can buy, it's buyer's market, I'd say,
Definitely speak to a mortgage advisor, though.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, what were we discussing next?
Football.
Oh, yeah, World Cup.
You've been following the World Cup, haven't you?
Yeah.
I've been following the World Cup. I'm not going to lie, it's not felt the same this year. Because it's in the middle of December. Yeah. It's like I'm not a big fan of going out to watch the World Cup anyway, but every time
it doesn't have the same vibe.
It's been either barbecue weather, summer weather. You get your mates around, you have a couple of beers, you put the barbecue on, and you're out. And now I'm sat in mine freezing. Like I'm scared to turn the heating on anyway because my bill's gone through the roof. But it's just not been the same World Cup. And in terms of even with the games that have been played, they're not even the same. Like how many upsets do we see? What have you found?
We have seen upsets, really.
I mean, the biggest one was Saudi Arabia with now the finalists.
Yeah.
That they
Morocco as well.
Oh, Morocco smashed it.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia can take that home with them and say, we beat the finalists that year.
Yeah. I think it was their first ever win in a World Cup.
Saudi Arabia, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, but...
So we're literally... So, obviously, this video goes out after the final's being played. We're a day away, so the final for us, the final happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
France, Argentina. What are your predictions? It's got to be. It has to be. It's just written in the stars, isn't it? For me.
So I think it's going to be a draw.
You can draw.
Whoever whoever equalises is going to win on penalties.
You think so? You think
So whoever scores first,
so? You're saying 1-1 draw,
1-1 or 2-2, but whoever scores last is going to win on
penalties.
Yeah.
I think he'll be decided in the 90 minutes.
Who do you think?
I want it to be Argentina.
Well, I want it to be France because I got money on it, but and also you got Ibu Konate, isn't it, playing?
Yeah, what you got Messi?
Yeah, but Messi.
Konate
I don't
will
care
go.
about Messi.
I do. Konate will go and win the World Cup again with France.
Yeah, but I'd rather him win it now.
Messi will never
Put
play
money in my pocket as well.
Messi will never play a final ever again. I mean, will never play World Cup ever again.
So. Ronaldo had to go out crying. So can Messi, yeah.
No, I just want for the sake of Messi. I mean, how good is Messi, by the way?
He's good, yeah.
I think
he's the best to ever have played the game, in my opinion.
I'm not old enough.
Regardless of whether he wins the World Cup or not.
I'm not old enough to have seen the likes of Maradona and stuff like
obviously,
that. And people always say Maradona is...
Yeah, there's a lot of great players in history, but you look at the stats and what they've achieved, these two are...
I want Messi to win a World Cup.
For what they've done over the years, like Maradona was great for a few years.
Yeah.
Ronaldinho in his prime was better than both Messi and Ronaldo. The Brazilian Ronaldo was better than all of them. But you're talking 2-3 years. These have done it 15 years.
To consistently do it, I just want Messi to win the World Cup though. It'll make me so much happier. I don't care if, like, I love Konate. He'll go and win the World Cup with France.
That will give him a big boost though, coming back to, Liverpool.
What
with a winner's medal.
So have you heard what happened to the French squad? They're all ill.
Are they?
Yeah. So some of them aren't making the final. The likes of like Varane and like key players. Starting centre back, isn't he, for them? He's their main centre back. It's always Varane and someone else. Whether it's Konate, Upamecano.
Upamecano's crap as well.
For me, Konate is the best centre half in France.
Yeah.
How he played in...
And why didn't he play Camavinga last game against Morocco? I think he's one of the better midfielders, isn't he?
Tchouameni though, isn't he?
Him, Tchouameni and Griezmann played the two.
How good's Griezmann been, by the way?
Yeah.
People are saying...
I never rated him until this World Cup.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
But he's playing out of position.
Well,
he's a box-to-box midfielder, like I remember.
Maybe this is his position then.
Someone put it in my group chat with my mates. It's like, since when has Griezmann been a box-to-box midfielder?
Yeah, he's done really well, to be honest.
But so you think you want France to win it, obviously for your money?
I'm not that bothered.
I want Argentina to win it. I think Argentina will win it, just because I just think Messi's just been different,
unreal, yeah.
But Mbappe's been firing on all cylinders again. He's quality.
And he's already won the World Cup as well, hasn't he?
Haaland or Mbappe?
For Liverpool or in general?
It's the Messi Ronaldo debate. Are you Haaland or Mbappe?
Mbappe.
Really? I'm Haaland. I reckon Haaland's a better player. I just think Haaland does a lot more.
What does he do more?
Like, for me, Haaland's a better player. Like, for your team, he does more.
Well, I'm looking at it from Liverpool perspective. I think.
No, I'm just looking at it like you put Haaland in any team, essentially. Look at him. Mbappe couldn't do what Haaland did at Dortmund.
Of course he can.
I don't think he could.
Dembele was doing that in Dortmund. You're like, Jadon Sancho was doing that in Dortmund. You're saying Mbappe couldn't do. Of course he could. Yeah, they're both great.
I reckon Haaland...
It is like the Messi-Ronaldo thing. You can't really... They're two separate players.
Haaland is a freak, by the way.
Yeah.
He's just getting a winter upgrade, isn't he?
So is Mbappe, though. See how he went past Walker after all? They were saying, oh, yeah, he's rapid, this, that. They went stop and then bam.
Yeah, no, it is a very close debate, but for me, it's Haaland.
Yeah.
For Liverpool, it'd be Haaland as well.
No chance.
I'd have Haaland.
I'd have Mbappe. Because of the pace. I mean,
Haaland's not slow.
He's not slow, but he's not the same as Mbappe, is he?
No one is, though. No one's
That's
as
what
fast
I'm
as
saying.
Mbappe. Yeah. He's a joke of a player, though, Mbappe.
And then he can do stuff at speed as well. So he can, I don't know, nutmeg you and go 100 miles an hour after. So
Messi's too good though, isn't he?
talking about World Cup, did you hear about the change of format
To the World Cup.
to the World Cup and Club World Cup? So essentially, Club World Cup used to be a Mickey Mouse competition. Well, it should be really, because there's a lot of games anyway for the players to play.
Yeah.
About 60 odd games a season. Now they've turned into like a proper Champions League competition.
How many teams? Is it gonna be?
32 instead of 7.
Not another competition. Another one.
Doesn't where are they
Can't
going to
be
fit
bothered.
it?
I can't
So
be
I
bothered.
just can't see where they're going to fit it.
Can
Unless,
you imagine in a way they in South America? Follow Liverpool. Where would they play the games? Do you have to go, or are they gonna do it like a World Cup?
I don't know. I don't even know when.
When are they gonna play?
Exactly, and it's so you got teams from all over. How are you gonna? What are the times gonna be?
Would
so you're gonna be traveling to Argentina to play a game or something. How does it work?
Would you say? Because how many teams are going to be? 32. Would you
Like
say
World
the
Cup.
team competing in the Club World Cup gets withdrawn from the league and competes in the World Cup?
Don't think so, because the leagues don't
And
want
then
their
they're-
leagues disturbed.
and then-
Champions League obviously don't want to give up any of their games, and now they're saying Champions League's gonna increase the number of teams as well.
I like the Champions League.
No, but it's good as it is.
Yeah, as it is.
I don't
That's
want
why
any more.
what was it, Super League?
Yeah,
That was never going to work.
no. But this is why they wanted to bring the Super League in.
Speaking of the World Cup, have you seen the World Cup documentary?
No.
You need to watch it.
What is it about Qatar?
It's just no. It's about Sepp Blatter.
Oh,
And like all the, it's about Sepp Blatter, all the like corruptness, how they
still
want
caught up now.
Yeah, it is, but you need to watch it. It's unbelievable. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll go and watch it, but
it's one of those. It's
I just think that they need
it's
to.
mind blowing how corrupt it is though.
I think all of the club owners everywhere should sort of sit together and just say no, we're not taking part. That's it. But they're not gonna, because it's more money, isn't
Yeah,
it?
if they're getting money, then
They're getting money, but you need
it's the fans that'll turn around and say
bigger
no.
squads though. You need.
It's the fans that'll turn around and say no.
Fans aren't gonna say no, are they?
What they did. They did with the Super League. They did.
Yeah, but how can they say no to Club World Cup? It's not their choice for the
Yeah,
team to
neither
go.
was the Super League, but they still said we're not going to do it. Like the fans have a lot of voice.
Hopefully.
Hopefully it doesn't happen. I can't see it happening. Oh, I can't see where they fit it in.
Where are we with the time? Are we?
Just before we finish, then should we have a look at the climate warriors?
Only briefly. We go into
Yeah.
it next week.
Just we'll leave it with a taster then.
Yeah.
So these, what did you call them? The climate agenda.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who
So
are they? What do they
it's
do?
basically
I call them the soup throwers.
all of these, like Stop Oil and these
Yeah.
people that go and sit in like the roads and throw soup at,
Yeah.
fine art. Basically, next week we dig into it just to see, what their thinking is and why they think obviously throwing soup and sitting on the road helps with that. And we're going to dive into it a bit deeper
Yeah.
about climate change in general, because obviously people seem to think that climate only started changing since we started, burning oil,
Yeah.
but
It's
that's been going on for millions of years. Earth has sort of cycles that
Yeah.
goes through, and it's actually been hotter than this when there was no cars like 12,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense what they're doing. So, but obviously that requires
look
a bit
at
of
it, yeah.
time to sort of dig into
I've seen
it.
some funny stuff on it though. It's like about these people that sit on the roads. Not that I agree with it, but it did make me laugh. It was like all I see is speed bumps. Like people saying all I see is speed bumps. And
Yeah.
I'd be fuming if I was like late getting somewhere and I'm getting blocked off by.
Someone actually died, didn't they? Because they stopped the ambulance getting to the hospital, and he passed away.
On a more positive note, though,
Yeah.
one of them did get a result for Everton. The guy who cable tied himself to the post. Do you remember in the Everton game against Liverpool?
No.
Do you not remember the guy who one of these climate people
Yeah.
ran onto the pitch and cable tied himself to the goalpost in the middle of the game?
Yeah.
And then because of the disruption in the game, Everton then went on, I reckon, to get I think Everton went on to get a result in that game. And then at the end of the season, when they never got relegated and whatever, they stayed up, all the fans were like tweeting about that guy saying, looking back on this, thanks to it.
Maybe that is the only thing keeping Everton in the league, isn't it?
Climate changes.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the episode.
End of the episode.
Thanks if you've stuck around. If you've stuck around, thank you. If you want to get in touch, email us, get in touch via the social media. There will be an Instagram for this and an email address that you can get in touch via. And
obviously we're looking to bring in
special guests. There'll be guests joining us
next week onwards.
From next week onwards. So yeah, see you soon.